So I have a morning routine that I do. If you've listened to me, you've probably heard me talk about it. I will do my meditation, write in my journal, and then do some study time. And if I do those, I get an X on my board so that I don't break the chain. And I am, let's see, 65 days in a row. Awesome. And one of the things that I like to do is, I've got my daily Stoic that I like to read and that, but I also generally pick a nonfiction book and kind of study it. Well, I just finished Our Iceberg is Melting. Thank you, Andrew, for this recommendation. It's a really fascinating book about kind of change management. If you're in the corporate world at all, you need to read this, okay? And if you've ever read Who Moved My Cheese, it's that style book where it's not like, here are the 7 steps that you need to, it's a fable. So it's got this whole, group of penguins that are on here, and it's got like little pictures. So it's actually a fun read. It doesn't take a long time. I took probably about 4 or 5 hours to read it, but I kind of go through things very methodically in my thing. But I wanted to just share a little bit about this and how it relates to more than just corporate culture. So let's listen to the intro and then we'll talk about the book. Welcome to my journey of self-discovery, life balance, career success, and business creation. This podcast works to answer the question of how successful professionals like us stop drifting and get focused on keeping our careers and businesses growing rapidly while having a full, balanced, and vibrant life that we absolutely love. What we call the Third Power Life. And this is the Third Power Life Podcast. All right, so Our Iceberg is Melting by John Kotter, who, according to my good friend Andrew, is the person to talk about change management. And this is it's a neat book. It's a lot of, like I said in the intro, it's fun to read because it is very much, it's story form kind of fable, and because they're penguins, it's easy to not be offended when it's like, oh yeah, that person's a no-no, or that person's anyway. But I did find it really enlightening, and it's very much for the corporate world and, in any organization, honestly, on how to make change and, how to see, when our iceberg is melting, right? But I was also, because I talk a lot about on this podcast is about personal development and, having our quest and all of that. I found a lot of these are very much in line with when we want to make a change in our lives, right? The first thing is to notice there's a problem. Hey, our iceberg is melting. We haven't been paying attention. It's just everything's the same as it always is, or the changes are really slow, which, if you've had, like I have weight issues where, it's not like, I went to McDonald's, I ate a hamburger and poof, I woke up in the morning, hey, I'm 300 pounds. It doesn't work like that, right? It's slow over time. And then wait, why, how did I get here? Well, and same in the story, like you get, the penguin that finds out that, hey, we're in trouble here. Our home's in trouble. And so it's finding out that there is an issue is kind of the first step, is it the first of the 12 step, the biggest step is to find out that you actually do have an issue. But he talks about, creating a sense of urgency and pulling together a guiding team. And I'm like, that's what we need to do in our lives. Yes, in our corporate world, if we're seeing there are things that just aren't working, we need to create a sense of urgency about it. You're never going to make a change just because it's, that'd be cool, right? Life doesn't work that way, right? There has to be, Tony Robbins talks all about it. You have to put yourself in pain, right? You have to make the pain of not doing it more than the pain of doing it. Because any change, whether corporate or personal, is going to take energy, it's going to take effort, and it's going to be painful, right? It's like going to the dentist, right? It's not very much fun, but let me tell you, you let that tooth go and the pain's going to be a whole lot worse. And so you know that the pain I got to do now is less than the pain that's going to come if I don't do something. In our lives, in our organizations, we need to do that. Pull together a team. You have to have a team of people. You have to have your mastermind group around you in business, in personal life. Very rarely can we achieve great things just on our own. We have to have people to help us. And that's why it's, you've got to have the team. You have to have help. Nobody can do it just by yourself, right? Develop your strategy, communicating it, help empowering others to act. All of these things. So read the book. It's really good, but I want you to look at it not just from how do I make a change in my organization, but how do you make a change in your life? Because every step in here is critical for the company and it's critical for you. You got to get leverage on yourself. You have to have help. You have to create a vision of where do you want to go and what's it going to look like when you get there, right? All of that is just, you have to do it, and produce short-term wins, right? You have to have the little goals. Don't let up and create a new culture, right? We have to create a new culture for our companies. We have to create a new culture for our own lives. That you look at it like a diet, right? If you think of, I'm on the keto diet, or, I'm not eating carbs, right? That's a temporary strategy. But if you can take it and turn it into your lifestyle of, I'm eating healthy, I'm reducing the amount of carbs I have, I'm exercising, and I'm doing the other things that I need to do to have a healthy lifestyle, that's a shift of identity. That's your new personal culture. In the company world, we call it the corporate culture. This is who we are. Well, for your personal changes, this is who you need to be. It can't be a temporary, well, I'm just going to go, I'm going to starve myself for a couple of months and get thin and be happy. That's called, can't think of the term now. But anyway, feast, the roller coaster diet. That's it, right? So we lose a whole bunch of weight. I was down to 235 at one point. And then went on a little trip and my diet kind of got messed up. So I just went back to normal and whoop, right back up to 290, right? And so we have to have the change of lifestyle, the change of culture in order to make the changes truly stick. So again, fantastic book. Thank you, Andrew, for recommending it. I recommend it for all of you, especially if you run an organization, nonprofit, corporate, whatever. It's definitely something that's worth the read. All right. Well, until next time, keep a lookout to see if your iceberg is melting and make a plan to make the change. And you can live your life to the third power. All right. Until next time, my friends. I'm glad you enjoyed this podcast. Please let us know what impacted you in today's episode. You can join our Discord or Facebook community to connect with like-minded people that want a real third power life. You can go to thirdpowerlife.com or look in the show notes for links. And remember, hit that like, subscribe, and rate button for the Third Power Life podcast. Until next time.